did catch Mayweather with some good shots, but again, Mayweather has a chin, he has a beard, and that's what people don't realize. But of course, Mayweather stopped Asakura in the second round. Now, a lot of things people don't realize when you're offensively minded, you're gonna get hit. We saw Errol Spence get tagged up by Ugas. We saw Terrence Crawford get tagged up by both Sean Porter and also by Kell Brook, his two most recent fights. Um, Even by Reed Machine, right? We saw Virgil Ortiz get tagged up. I mean, Canelo get tagged up. When you're going in for the kill, you're going to get hit. Okay, especially when you're offensively minded. Period. You're on an offensive kind of thing. So Mayweather is what? I'm 47. He's 45 years old. This is a 45-year-old man you're watching, fighting a young professional fighter who's an MMA fighter, but he's also good with his hands. All right, and the kid showed us he has some skill. He's a southpaw. He got good. He lines up his shots. He's a smart boxer. This Japanese. They're well schooled and everything. And the kid's around Mayweather's size. And in fact, he's slightly taller, and I think he's slightly bigger than Mayweather. So he caught Mayweather with a really good shot. Now Mayweather's able to take it, just like how he take Conor McGregor those guys' shots. He didn't want to take too many of those, but he caught him with a really nice, solid shot. And then Mayweather, he came back with a really nice, solid shot on Asakura. Well, he had a couple of them, right? But he came back with a really nice one, and he knocked him out. He knocked him down. That was it, right? So Mayweather basically is a much more aggressive version. This is a much more aggressive version of Floyd Mayweather that we're seeing, which is weird because it takes him retiring for you to really see how aggressive he can be and how much he has knockout power. He does have at 45 years old. This dude's old as hell. He still got a certain degree of quickness. His feet are not as quick, and he's not as mobile as he used to be. Obviously. But he's plenty quick. I mean, he's still probably beats a lot of professional fighters, and we're talking about professional boxers too. He probably. I mean, I'm not saying he's gonna do something to the top tier guys like Errol Spence and those guys who are now doing it in the pros. He's not fighting like that anymore on that level, but he can beat a lot of the top guys out there. You know what I mean? And then to see him together with Manny Pacquiao, they may have something. They may put together something, and you may get a more aggressive version of Floyd Mayweather. If you look at Floyd Mayweather, he's been walking down everybody since he's been doing exhibitions, right? He's been walking down everybody in exhibitions with his Logan Paul. It don't matter how big you are, it don't matter how hard you punch, he's been walking you down. And that's really interesting to see. I haven't seen him on the back foot for the majority of the fights he's been in, which is very interesting, right? The Japanese, they don't play around. We saw both Tenshin and now this dude, Asakura, and they go for the kill. So it was kill or be killed, and Mayweather was going for the kill too. He was going for the kill, but he wasn't playing around with this kid. He was really boxing him, and the kid got some skill. He got some skill. It did only last 2 rounds, but the kid had some skill. But he just couldn't take the punch that Floyd was throwing, which again shows us that Floyd can punch. Okay, that's another thing that people don't realize. He can punch, and he's not as quick as he used to be. He's not as sharp as he used to be, but he can punch. You know what I mean? So people are saying, well, Floyd, they glorifying the fact that the guy hit Floyd. That's part of boxing, though. Part of boxing is getting hit with good shots. Now, what happens after that is another story, but yeah, of course Floyd gets hit. He's a 45-year-old man. This is a 45-year-old man fighting a 20-something-year-old guy who's been doing, he's constantly fighting all the time. He's doing MMA and thing, but he's constantly fighting all the time. So obviously, and the kid got some skill. He really do have some skill. All right. So, I mean, that's what's going to happen. I mean, people make it sound like Mayweather is a guy if he just gets hit with a one good shot. I mean, a guy hits him with one good shot or 2 or 3 good shots. All of a sudden, oh man, Mayweather can be beaten or something. I don't know what they're thinking. This dude got a chin. He's tough. He's strong. Mayweather's a tough, strong guy. So again, I see people making a much ado about nothing, and they're talking about, oh, he's slipping or whatever. He's been slipping since, God damn it, he's been slipping a long time ago. Why do you think he's not trying to do any pro fights? He's doing this not just to accrue money and to make some money, but he's also doing this just to, enjoy himself in the sport now. This is his time to enjoy himself, right? He like Triple G in there compared to that dude. He like a Triple G to that dude. Yeah, he can take one or two shots, but he gonna get you, and you ain't gonna land all them set of shots on him anyway. So I mean, he was laughing, he was smiling when the guy tagged him, got him good, but he got a chin, so and he just continued on and got the guy out of there. And the point behind it is, you see at the end, he's hugging the guy, he's giving the guy his props. You know what I mean? Because that's Mayweather. Mayweather is a dude. They saying, if Mayweather keep on doing this, he gonna get knocked out. Mayweather ain't gonna get knocked out, y'all. He's not gonna get knocked out. Okay? That dude hit him a picture perfect left, straight left. We would have knocked out somebody else, definitely. Didn't knock him out. All right, he rolled the punch slightly. He rolled the punch slightly. We saw Conor McGregor hit him with a perfect left uppercut. He rolled the punch and he kept coming. So Mayweather's not no. Y'all don't understand. He not no softy. He's not, just because he got great defense don't mean he can't take a punch. He proved this over time, and it also showed he got popped too. He got some power. Okay, put the guy down with a straight right to the head as the guy was coming in. His own momentum kind of knocked him out. You know what I'm saying? Guy got up groggy. He definitely got concussion from that shot. All right, Mayweather, he ain't playing. He'll put you to sleep if he has to. You know what I mean? Logan Paul had the range and the length, and he was clinching and stuff, but Mayweather was coming for his ass. He was coming for Logan's ass. Now, Jake Paul talking about chirping. Jake, you don't want to be put to sleep. You will be put to sleep by that little guy. That little guy you watching there, who's about 150 something pounds, would knock your ass out. I'm telling you. I know Floyd didn't knock out Logan because Logan was clinching, but I don't think Jake would clinch like that. And even if he did, maybe Mayweather would free up himself. It depends. It depends on Mayweather move. If he wanted to press the action, he probably could have knocked out Logan. Right? If he wanted to really press it, he could have probably knocked out Logan. Um, you know, Jake Paul thinks he's really a puncher. Mayweather's been hit by punchers, by real punchers. Okay, real punchers. And I think Mayweather's supposed to be facing actually KSI's little brother, and KSI's little brother, he's strong. He can punch and stuff. So it should be interesting. You know what I mean? But again, this is a big old man in a young man's sport. You're talking about little K, a young guy in KSI who's bigger than Floyd, facing Floyd. That's the next exhibition Floyd's gonna be doing. That's an exciting fight because KSI's little brother, even though he never, I think he lost to Jake Paul, to Jake Paul as well. But it'd be good to see him go in there against Floyd Mayweather. And if Jake Paul won, that worked. But I'm just saying now, this Mayweather you're talking about, and maybe your brother, your brother was fortunate enough, to come out of that fight not getting knocked out, even though some people argue that Floyd did knock him out, but just kept him up so he wouldn't get, completely annihilated. But nonetheless, Jake Paul, you know, you got some heat in your hand, at least you feel so, in your right hand. So you gonna feel you can do something to Floyd. But what you gotta understand is, first of all, you gotta get past Anderson Silva. You talking about Floyd, but you really need to focus on Anderson Silva because that ninja, he might be, what is Anderson Silva, 50 something years old, maybe 50 something years old. Anderson Silva is a tricky dude, and he got popped too. He got power, real legitimate power. Okay, so I think you should focus on Anderson Silva because you didn't step up to the plate against Hasim Rahman. Far less, now you're fighting a guy who is much more fight savvy. Anderson Silva, he may not be as skilled as Hasim Rahman, even though he got a lot of skills himself. He can switch hit and all that kind of stuff. But in addition to that, what we're talking about here is this dude got veteran savvy. He's got a lot of experience in the sport, and he has been a boxer. He was actually a pro boxer before he became an MMA fighter, and he has been training with pro boxers and amateur and pro boxers. So you gonna be in a lot of problems, Jake Paul, facing Anderson Silva. You count on your size, your muscle mass and stuff, but he gonna neutralize that very quickly. So I don't know. Like I said before, Anderson Silva is a phenomenal, not just a phenomenal athlete, but a phenomenal fighter. Period. And I'm looking forward to Anderson Silva making history, beating Jake Paul, and then moving on because this man has beaten Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in a pro fight. Okay, now he's gonna be facing Jake Paul in a pro fight. Jake Paul's talking about knocking out Anderson Silva. Anderson was just smiling about that. That's funny to him, you know. Um, And we're gonna see. We're gonna really see who's who. I hope Jaden Paul's training his ass off because it's a big step up again. You know, you thought Hasim Rockman was something. Anderson Silva is something. You know what I mean? And Anderson Silva is no longer an MMA fighter. He is now a boxer. That's what he do. He boxes, right? This guy got Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. under his belt. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see. I know he's old, you know, and Jake Paul may have to push the action to try to get Anderson Silva tired out, which is not going to happen. But nonetheless, you know, what would be a great fight too. Okay, so there's a number of great fights I want to talk. I know I'm diverging from what I was saying, you know, about Floyd and stuff, but that's the starting point. I want to talk about some exciting fights that I would love to see. I know sometimes size will have a problem with this, but Anderson Silva versus Roy Jones Jr. If Anderson Silva beats Jake Paul, which is, I'm not going to say what is how likely that is, but if Anderson Silva beats Jake Paul, right, he gonna have Roy Jones Jr. line up. Now the question is, I'm gonna say this, and I hope Jake Paul doesn't pull out of this fight. But this is what I'm gonna say: if Jake Paul loses to Anderson Silva, this is what I'm gonna couch it like this: if Jake Paul loses to Anderson Silva, you think Jake Paul should give up boxing? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He should continue. All right, because he committed himself to boxing. Him and Logan Paul. Logan Paul lost his. He lost the fight to KSI. So what? The real fight that's out there for Jake Paul, and this is why he will not. I'm telling you, Jake Paul will not retire from boxing. Is he got that KSI fight lined up for him? You got to get paid. You got to get that KSI fight. You got to get that KSI fight. You know what I mean? Win, lose, or draw. You know, and so um, I'm not going to say not much more about Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva because people thinking about the age and they thinking, you know, Jake Paul is taking advantage by an old guy. But actually, no, it's not really that. But nonetheless, y'all going to see. I'm going to let y'all see what I see. I already see what I see. I'm not going to say who's going to win the fight, but I already know what's up with that fight. That fight's a tough fight for Jake Paul. Let me just say that. Very, very tough fight. That's a very, 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 very tough fight. You know, I think he I think he's picking actually guys who, even though, like, okay, Hasim Rahman had a lot of pro fights, so that was a good fight for him to, and he backed out of that fight. Um, Now Anderson Silva doesn't have a whole bunch of pro fights. He has like similar amount of pro fights as Jake Paul, but what, there's so much I can say about experience and how much Anderson Silva, because he grew up in boxing and he has been boxing. Uh, this is totally different to Tyron Woodley. This is a different kettle of fish to even Hasim Rahman, because Hasim Rahman's never been a world champion. So the mentality of Anderson Silva and the formula that Anderson Silva applies to boxing and the respect Anderson Silva has for boxing makes this a whole different ball game. Trust me. The only thing that limits him is sort of his age, and he knows what to do to prepare with that kind of age that he has on him. So, you know, he's got young guys pushing him to the limit. You know, he's getting international help and all of that. So Anderson Silva knows the game. Jake Paul's learning the game. He's being taught by a guy who knows the game. Anderson Silva knows the game of boxing and combat sports and was a boxer before. So this is a whole different ball game, y'all. This is not no debutante stepping to Jake Paul. This is a guy who knows his way around the ring, is very savvy with it, and this is a guy who potentially could face the legend, the Hall of Fame legend, the Hall of Famer legend, Roy Jones Jr., later on this year or probably early next year. Okay? So if y'all think this is some kind of ordinary guy, Anderson Silva, I know a lot of people are going to be overlooking him saying, why are you taking on this old guy? Well, he was supposed to be the guy that Jake Paul was working up to, but now he had to skip all these steps. So he was supposed to face Fury, right? He was supposed to face Fury. Fury would have been a decent step up. And maybe if he got past Fury, then, you know, a Rahman like kind of guy, Hasim Rahman, you know, uh, um, um, uh, I forgot the guy that beat Hasim Rahman. You know, those kinds of ilk. Even the guy that trains JJ, aka I can't remember his name. Sorry, KSI. That kind of level of opposition, and then he could step up to Anderson Silva. Because see, what y'all don't understand about Anderson Silva is the mentality of Anderson Silva. He's already been a world champion, you know, and that's in, of course, MMA. But he has respect for the sport of boxing. Tyron Woodley, he boxed, but he never really had a lot. He didn't have pro fights. Anderson Silva had pro fights even before he was an MMA fighter. He had pro fights, and then after that, he's had a couple pro fights as well. And he's won almost all his pro fights except for the very first one he ever had in his career. So what I'm saying is Anderson Silva is not one of them guys you want to just, and he has already beaten a former world champion in Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So he shows he's got a certain level of boxing skill and experience behind him. Um, so Jake Paul, Anderson Silva saying this, he takes the fight seriously with Jake Paul as well. So once Jake Paul doesn't pull out of this fight, right? Because Anderson Silva is a boxer. All right, he's a pro boxer right now. He's up in age though, but he is a pro boxer. Um, so there's a lot of things Jake Paul would be counting on to work in that ring against Anderson Silva that he's going to learn don't work with Anderson Silva in that ring, and it's okay. It's a learning experience for him. I do think Jake Paul will continue to box, but probably maybe not face a pro boxer in a good minute because Anderson Silva is a pro boxer and he's a veteran of fighting. And he also, his pro boxing experience is more than Jake Paul's pro boxing experience, right? He's more experienced because he's faced higher level competition. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., former world champion, middleweight world champion, is the kind of caliber opposition that Anderson and Silva has faced. So you're talking about a guy who really fires at a higher level than Jake Paul's ever imagined. So this fight's not easy for Jake Paul. Now Anderson Silva, I think the toughest part of this will be his age and if he can keep a certain tempo or pace to the fight, if he can slow the fight down and then be able to use do what he does in the fights and do his thing, which he will do. So that's the challenge for Jake Paul. Jake Paul is actually going to be more challenged than Anderson Silva in this fight, I believe, because Anderson Silva ain't going to be facing something that he's not facing a challenge necessarily in terms of IQ, where he's probably going to be the guy with the higher IQ. He's probably going to be the guy with the better experience and the better quality opposition. So those things work in his favor. I don't know if he has the longer reach. I don't know if he's the bigger guy. But what I do know is, Jake Paul now is going to have the youth on his side. So he has to push the pace, to push the tempo of the fight. That's a very intriguing fight, actually, Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. I said I wouldn't talk about Jake Paul too much, but that's an intriguing fight. And it's a fight that I'm not going to say too much more about it because, again, Anderson Silva's age is the only thing that could really work against him. But to be honest with you, Anderson Silva has a lot more advantages than Jake Paul all around. And boxing is all about knowledge, which is doing. And Anderson Silva's faced much better competition. So I don't think, I don't want to say too much more on that fight, but it's very intriguing because what this does is Anderson Silva matching up with Roy Jones Jr. That's a fight I really want to see. I don't know if Roy can be up for it, but that's a fight I really love to see. And as we're at it, Anderson Silva versus, say for example, I wouldn't put him in there with Vito Belfort, mainly because Vito Belfort he's still juicing. So unless they have drug testing for both Vito Belfort and Anderson Silva, I don't want to see that fight, right? Vito Belfort anyway is a heavyweight, I think. But Anderson Silva versus Bernard Hopkins, you know what I mean? Anderson Silva versus what an exhibition or actual fight. Anderson Silva versus the legendary Joel Calzaghe. I don't know if Joel Calzaghe won't go back into the ring, but I'm just saying there's a bunch of guys there. We got Joe Calzaghe. We got Anderson Silva versus Roy Jones Jr., Bernard Hopkins, Tito Trinidad, uh, uh, Oscar De La Hoya, even Floyd Mayweather. Anderson Silva versus Floyd Mayweather. I mean, Anderson Silva much bigger than Floyd, but I would love to see all of those fights because those fights are really intriguing matchups, whether they're exhibition or not. You know what I mean? I'm gonna call a couple of other people. I think Anderson Silva's not a heavyweight, so he won't be fighting. Jake Paul's a cruiserweight. Anderson Silva's more of a light heavyweight, big light heavyweight, but he's a light heavyweight. But I'm thinking, there's a bunch of matchups that Anderson Silva could have. And especially if he's very competitive with guys like Roy Jones Jr. or very competitive with Jake Paul, or he beats Jake Paul for that matter. It opens the window, it opens the door more interesting fights that Anderson Silva could be involved in. You know what I mean? So Anderson Silva is a blessed dude, man. This could be a platform for him to launch, and the MMA to see one of the greatest fighters ever in the history of boxing and MMA. So we'll see. I don't know. Um, you know, so I'm pretty excited to see that. I'm also excited to see matchups with Manny Pacquiao versus Mayweather as an exhibition. That would be a great exhibition. Pacquiao himself is lining up himself with a bunch of other exhibitions. Floyd be doing a lot of exhibitions this year as well. And again, I would love to see those kinds of fights because again, I would prefer if the guys were around about the same size, which is why I didn't speak about Anderson Silva versus, say, for example, James Toney or Tony Tucker or somebody with an old or whatever, you know. Um, but I would love to see exhibition fights where we got these big name guys facing big name guys as well. People talk about again. I keep on going back to this. I'm gonna use Pacquiao now. I'm gonna use Mayweather. Okay. People say, well, Pacquiao never faced Nate Campbell. You know what I'm saying? Nate Campbell, get off your ass. You know what I'm saying? I know you train fighters and stuff, but get off your ass and get that paycheck. You know what I mean? Face a Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean? That would be beautiful as an exhibition. We could talk about a couple of more exhibitions. Because this is something exhibitions being a tradition from since the beginning of time with glove boxing. You talk about Manny Pacquiao versus Manny Pacquiao did not face what's his name? And this he never faced Joe Casamignola. He never faced him. You know, uh, he faced Marquez, but he didn't face Joel Casamignola. I love to see Joel Casamignola versus Manny Pacquiao. I love to see that fight. You know what I mean? And Joel Casamignola, he was running. I think he was running super featherweight, and then he was running lightweight for a while. So Manny Pacquiao versus Joe Casamignola. Manny Pacquiao versus, well, we can't have Zav Judah anymore because of the brain injury, but I would have loved to see that. You know what I mean? Um, I can think of a bunch of other exhibition fights. I love to see Manny Pacquiao versus Mikey Garcia because Mikey Garcia is retired now. Mikey Garcia, he did something recently with Eric Morales. Marco Antonio Barrera is supposed to face Ricky Hatton very soon, so that's a good fight again. I love to see those kinds of exhibition fights. This is boxing, and where a lot of people don't realize is boxing. Yeah, the real boxing is the competitive pro boxing, right? And then we got these little sideshow kind of things like Anderson Silva versus Jake Paul. It's kind of a sideshow because Anderson Silva not really. He is a boxer, but he ain't having a lot of history in boxing. He doesn't have a lot of pro fights, and that is Jake Paul, right? So that's kind of a sideshow thing still. It's not mainstream yet, even though they are both pro boxers. And then you got the exhibitions, right? You got the exhibitions. And what makes exhibitions great is when two great names come together, like Marco Antonio Barrera versus Ricky Hatton, which I'm looking forward to at the end of this year. I want to see that. That's great. Julio Cesar Chavez versus who was the guy that he faced? He faced Hector Camacho Jr. and he also faced I can't remember the Hall of Famer guy. I can't remember what his name is right now. So, but my point is, I love those things. I love to see those fights, and especially when the guys start to throw down and stuff. That's great. You know what I mean? And if you can do it, then you do it. I mean, and it's a good payday. It could be a good payday. And then the MMA fighters are getting a lot of work in boxing. They're getting to transition over to boxing and do some boxing fights. So for example, this guy here, Asakura, he's an MMA fighter, excellent MMA fighter by the way, MMA superstar. Really great fighter. But when it comes to just boxing alone, he faced the great Floyd Mayweather, so he got that on his resume. He got that on his history in an exhibition. Got knocked out, but I mean, it is what it is. Tension still killing it in the kickboxing arena, and he got knocked out too. But it is what it is. You've shared the ring with one of the greatest fighters of all time. You can't be ashamed of that. You shared the ring with him, man. You know what I mean? And it's not even in a field that you really, that's your field. You know what I mean? So, I mean, look, I'm excited to see. So that was Pacquiao. Take Mayweather, right? Mayweather. I would love to see Mayweather versus Sergio Martinez. I would love to. Sergio Martinez is not retired yet, but I would love to see a fight like that. I'd love to see Floyd Mayweather versus Who else we got on the rise? Erislandy Lara. Erislandy Lara still fighting. Erislandy Lara actually is the mandatory for Gennady Golovkin's WBA belt. I would love to see that. I would love to see that fight. Lara will obviously he's been in the pros all the time, so he's gonna be much sharper than Floyd. But nonetheless, I would love to see it as an exhibition. I would love to see. I'd love to see Floyd go up against a lot of folks actually. Um, Oscar De La Hoya second time would not be a problem. Um, I know Cotto's not going back into boxing, so I wouldn't even bother to talk about Floyd versus Cotto. That'd be good payday though. Um, there's a couple guys out there, man. There's a couple guys. Joel Casimiro versus Floyd, that would be great too. That was a guy that Floyd was supposed to face. Paul Spadafora versus Floyd. I would love to see that fight. I know Spadafora kind of talked to Floyd and everything. I think he was trying to get a picture from Floyd though. I'm not too sure. But Paul Spadafora versus Floyd Mayweather, I would love to see that. I love to see that. So there's a bunch of, like I said before, exhibitions are fights that you just want to see. You just want to see it, say it's a part of history. Spatafore actually faced Floyd, Sergio Martinez actually faced Floyd. Martinez always wanted that fight, share that ring with Floyd, and he got it. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And of course, the respect of both fighters when they share the ring together is also a beautiful thing. And for Sergio Martinez to, come out and fight with Floyd and say, yeah, I know why this guy's a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Because that's how it used to be back in the day. Back in the day, if you couldn't get a guy in an actual fight, you do it in an exhibition. You face him in an exhibition. You know what I mean? Throwback days. You know what I'm saying? I know exhibitions make money. Floyd, it don't really matter, man. Listen, Floyd make money. Floyd make money with whatever he do, right? So he could face, like as we say, some guys we don't know in the Western world. Asakura is a tremendous MMA fighter in Japan. So the Japanese know him very well. Tenshin is a big superstar in Japan. So Floyd tapped into that market. Them guys is no Sergio Martinez. The world knows Sergio Martinez. The world knows. The world knows Ricky Hatton. The world knows. The world knows Joel Casimiro. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying that Floyd facing those guys would be great as well. And maybe he will, maybe he won't. I don't know. But that's when you talk about exhibitions, there's so many possibilities with exhibitions. And Floyd looks like he's just getting exhibition after exhibition after exhibition. He's gonna be running this year, which would be very exciting. If just imagine a Floyd Pacquiao exhibition, that would be great. And I know Floyd and Pacquiao, they would make it happen. If it's possible. That would be a tremendous exhibition. Huge exhibition, plenty of money for that. That would be, you had to pay. It's like pay-per-view money to pay for that exhibition because Pacquiao has a busy style, exciting style. Floyd looked like he's just coming forward now, walking people down. So that would be a fun. That would definitely be a fun fight. I could see Floyd still being on the back foot a little bit, but I could also see him, walking down Pacquiao more, taking some more shots, taking some more heat to get where he has to get done. And it looks like Floyd just be knocking out people left, right, and center. I mean, he didn't knock out Logan Paul, but I mean, he'd be knocking out everybody else. You know what I mean? So that would be interesting. Um, uh, but I just wanted to talk to you guys about that. When you are being an aggressive fighter, you're gonna get hit with some shots. You're gonna get hit with some shots. If you're defensively minded and you're fighting off the back foot, it's less like you get hit with a shot. But if you're walking to an opponent, you're gonna get hit with shots. And Floyd's always been that way. He always get hit with some kind of shot, but he have a chin. When he's walking you down, Chop Corley when he was walking him down, when he was walking down, who else was walking down? Shane Mosley, he got hit. I mean, he got caught really hard too. Walking down Shane Mosley, but he kept on walking him down. You know what I mean? So I mean, Tab Judah, the same thing. Tab Judah tagged him up a bit. So this is not surprising that Floyd get tagged up when he's walking down fighting, going for the kill. He going for the kill though. He going for the kill, and he got that guy out of there in 2 rounds as he was supposed to. You know what I mean? So that's what I got for you guys. I am what you need. I'm gonna catch you guys later. I know I took a little longer than usual. We're coming up on 30 minutes. I'm about to wrap it up right now.